How's it going, everybody? It's Mystical here, and I'm back with another video for the ICR mod. This time it's specifically going over the Marmoset Toolbag 3 render scene that I made. For those that are not familiar with this tool, basically it's a 3D rendering, professional animation, and baking tool, and I didn't feel I needed to do a overview slash tutorial on car viewer and 3ds Max scenes because those have been common with every mod since, the existence of NASCAR Racing 2003. So this is a new tool, and I felt for anyone who may be interested in using it or actually has it, to show you how you can render your cars using the Marmosets, the scene that I specifically built for it. This is also the tool that I use to do all the animations that you saw in the trailer and the manufacturer showcase and all that. So that's why I think it's such a great tool because it's professionally used, by lots of artists and companies and stuff nowadays, and kind of doing things in Maya and 3ds Max. Those ways are a bit more archaic. So this is one of those new tools to uh, display things. It's that's what it's made for basically. So the first thing you want to do is you want to open up Marmoset, and yours will look probably pretty similar to mine. The background might be different because it loads a different sky every time, but the next thing you'll either want to go to open or after you've downloaded the mod, or not the mod, the um, render scene for Marmoset, you'll unzip it and then you'll double click the scene and it'll load it. It should load it fine. And it is a package scene, it's been exported package, so everything should be included in it, textures and the materials and all that. It's been pre-built, so you don't have to do any of the work. But it should look something like this. If you don't see any textures, and it's all using a default shader, that means it couldn't find them or something. So everything's been labeled over here. There's 7 that you'll have to load, but basically you'll click the little shader. So, for the body, you'll basically, you won't have to click anything either. You just click the shader, you'll go down to albedo, which is color, and then you'll click on it, and then you'll find the texture, which those have also been included. You go to assets, textures, and there's all the stuff right there. So you got actually you don't even need the Honda. I'll delete that before release. You just one of each make basically. And then you have the interior and all that stuff. And I'll make sure there's not 2 of these either, but um, basically you'll load those and then just get rid of that too. And then basically the texture should just automatically load up. One thing to remember is for the engine, interior, make 1 through 3, those you just need to load the albedo map, and these do not require any other maps loaded, but the car makes, you got to load that and the specular map, which is right here, shiny. So you have the 4 makes, and then load that. And then these, you just have to load their respective albedo textures, which you just click on that, and then you'd load either the engine or the interior. And then for the window, you'll load the window texture for albedo, should be right here, and then you'll load it again down here for transparency, because it'll load the alpha map basically, which I'll actually click that now. We'll go in textures. There we go. I'll make sure that actually is set up correctly too. It should be all there. But anyways, so it'll just look like that basically. That's if the textures don't load. They should though. If they don't, then that's how you can load your textures. And I actually clicked on this, so by default it should look like this on the left. I'm just gonna save what I made so I don't have to do this again. This is the first time I'm showing other people how to use Marmoset, so I had a, and this is a scene built specifically for you guys. I have my own custom scene, so I don't have to do any of these updates and stuff. So basically you'll go over here and you'll hit the little plus, and that'll expand everything that's been built in the scene. You'll notice everything's been locked except a couple things, which I'll go over in a bit. So you don't have to worry about moving anything, everything's in place. The only thing you have to do, similar to 3ds Max and CarView, is toggle certain things on and off basically. So you can see over here make 0 has the eyeball, so it's turned on. and then I have a single version of each. So there's one car where you can have both. So you just go down the list, you can see. Got one of each type. So basically, say we want to do the Dodge and we want to have two, there you go. Say you got a make two and you just want to do a single view, you can do that. Now, you'll notice that with these, you got a bunch of dead space here. And so that's how you can change the camera. By default, it's set up double view. If you click here, you can go to single, and then there you go. And of course, if you go back to double, it's cutting that off, so you have to go back up to double. Of course, if you don't like any of these views, you can. I have a free cam. I made a free camera for you, and it's just in a random place. You can move around the scene with the Alt key and middle mouse button holding down, and then the Alt and left, and then zooming in with the mouse. I'm not really going over how to use Marmoset. You can learn that on your own time, but basically I have a free camera built so you can, you know, go to single and, okay, I like a view like this or something instead of the default that I made, or I want to show all these other views and stuff, and if you go under it, it unrenders the floor. So um, that's basically, if you want to use free cam, you can do that and stuff. Go back to the double view here. So that's basically how you can toggle things on and off. Now let's say you want to make a render of this. First you want to actually load your paint scheme. So let's do, actually for the all intents and purposes, let's do the Armory digital card, because why not? So it's on make 3, you go here, you choose your texture, then where I have it, you'll load your paint scheme that you exported from Affinity Photo, Photoshop, Paint Shop Pro, whatever, it's the same as doing 3ds Max or Car Viewer. Choose it, and then boom, there it is. So it should load because everything's been mapped, the tires, the roll bar, the chassis, everything, whatever you painted, it should update everything for you. So all you have to do is just click and choose your texture, and then there you go, you've got your thing. So what you want to do is in capture, and then you go to settings, and then you'll choose, it should be set up by default by 1920 by 1080, but say you want something bigger or lower, you can change it, but you don't have to do that. The sampling's set 25, the format is PNG, but you can do others. Now, here's the big thing. If you want the floor to render in your scene, then make sure this is checked off. Or if you just want the car with the shadows and no floor, you can click transparency. So then you can load your PNG image into an image editor and add something else on the floor. Or maybe you're doing a layout of the car of side and top view. So that's what you do there. And then the quality is plenty fine. You can ramp it up if you want, but oh, that's for the video, my bad. And then, and this is the same thing, I guess, for video size and sampling and all that good stuff. And that's just to set up the settings. And then what you want to do is you can hit F11, and I believe, I forget actually, because I have it output just to one of my folders, but I believe if you want to change it, there is a way to tell it. Oh yeah, output. So this is where you can tell where you want your screenshots to output. Which I have it just set up to one of my drives, but if you want to render, you can either go up here to capture and click these, or you can just hit F10 or F11. F10 will render it and open it, or F11 will just render it directly. But for here, we're going to hit F10. I have a pretty powerful computer, so it renders in a matter of seconds. It's doing this in 1920 by 1080, and it just finished. And there you go. You got an image, and the floor is transparent, I believe, so I'm going to render it again with the floor. So you go to capture, make sure transparency's off, hit F10 again, and there you go. It's that easy, guys, and it's a 1920 by 1080. Now, say you want to do like a 4K desktop screenshot or something. You can get even higher resolution, obviously. You'd not only go into your settings and change it to a 4K pixels, but you also want to go up to render And one thing here, resolution, set it to 2 by 1 double. That doubles everything, the quality. And you really don't need it by 1920 by 1080. But if you're doing higher, you can do here. This will start to lag the program, so I recommend you only keep it 1:1 ratio until you're ready to render. So then you can click this, hit the render button, and then turn it off again. But it really does make it more powerful. Now, I'm going to show some examples of some things you may run into if you want finer quality. We're going to click this off. Let me try and remember. Let's go to single. And let's see, actually, that doesn't have any texture on the hood. I want something that, so we'll actually go back. And I'm just clicking the little material up here that corresponds to, oh, it's snapping back because program that way, corresponding to it. So you'll notice in this render, because it's a white car, it's kind of washing out the, it's overexposing like the hood, and maybe you don't like that. So if you notice we got a free cam, it doesn't really matter what angle, it's much harder to read this. And that's because on brighter paint schemes, it's the global illumination and bloom is making it do that, which I've set up everything you don't have to worry about. But if you go into render and you go down to, oh wait, my bad. You want to go to the camera itself. So you'll have to uncheck this, and you can go to exposure. See, it's at 1.6. I'm actually just going to copy this value, but if I set it to 1 now, it's default. There you go. Much easier. I made it brighter because I think it looks a little better, especially for darker cars. But for brighter cars, it's a little too bright. So you just hit 1 on an exposure, and there you go. Now, of course, you can change all the other settings. I recommend not doing it though. I've personally curated everything so it looks pretty good. But you may be even better at setting up render scenes than me, and you may know more about Marmoset, so you can make it look even better. But that's it. Oh, also, depending on the camera you use, which with the free cam, we're gonna go back to that. I have the field of view set to 25 millimeters, but you can change it to anything. So 55, it gets more fisheye, or you can go to like something ridiculous 5, and maybe you really need that side profile where there's no distortion, like an orthographic view. So that's how you can see it's very orthographic. Um, 25 is a pretty good thing to encompass everything in the frame. So that's how you can change field of view. Um, some other things to mention, you can, of course, you can go crazy with all the stuff. I've turned on all the high resolution. I have a pretty powerful computer, but if you find certain things, it's very hard to see on YouTube, but you can see global illumination. The light bounces off inside, and on the edges. It reflects also certain reflections and things. You have ambient occlusion, so you can see if I turn it off, you're losing some of the shadowing of the car. So I recommend not playing around with these settings unless you know what you're doing. But that is how you can adjust those settings. One other big factor, there's also the shadow and the lights that I've put in certain points around the scene. So you can see them up here. I recommend not adjusting these unless you know what you're doing, because you might make the scene look much worse. But these are all here as well. I did forget one other little thing. I use Marmoset just to preview my paint schemes as I paint them, because it does update in real time anytime you change that file. The next time you go swap over to program, it'll update real time. That's what I like about it. I also have, you can include in the car, or just to look, I include the driver dude as well, which I'll make sure that this is fixed too. Don't worry about what I'm doing here. I'm gonna unlock and belt, but the helmet and the suit, you'll have to apply, the paint scheme that you use. So now it's back to gray default, because I actually didn't paint the driver suit with the paint scheme that I have here. That's why it's not looking correct. But Anyways, that's just the driver if you want to have him sitting in the seat. So I'll just go back to the car. But anyways, that is that. Now I'm not going to go over it in this video, but yes, if you want to do cool animations like I did in my trailer, this program completely allows you to do it. There are keyframes down here. You would, I'm checking the wrong thing. You would unlock, or I don't think, oh yeah, you have to unlock. You'd unlock and then you can move. Of course, once you do this, if you go too far with those things, you'll mess up the scene, obviously, but um, you can click on something at frame 0 and hit the keyframe, or go to the piece and transform, hit the keyframe. I don't know, scroll like 11 seconds in, move it to the side, hit keyframe, boom, there you go. And then you can go up to capture video, make sure you have your video settings. I've defaulted it to pretty good quality already, but then if you want to do a video, you just hit F5 basically, and then it'll render out the frames that you set up. You can look up videos on YouTube how to do animations, but if you want to do cool things like that, Marmoset even has a built-in 360, so you could render your paint schemes out in a 360 turntable too, but I'm not going over that, but I'm just showing you the potential. Two last things I want to go over. When you open the program first, I'm actually just going to get rid of that. And I'm going to go back to the place I have it. So when you open it, oh yeah, it's because I deleted those things. Don't worry about that, you won't get that error. The way the lighting looks, that is because the sky that I'm using, the HDR sky I'm using, is called Elevator. If you go, I'll unlock it, presets, Elevator, right here. Yours might be in a different position, but you actually may not even have this HDR. So yours, if you click here, you see how it's changing. It's looking really different. That's because the sky might be different for yours. So you can see how it makes the car look different. You may find, I've installed a bunch of other ones, so yours will probably default to one of Marmoset's defaults. So your scene might just look different on that basis. But if you want exactly what I have, I've included in the README file of the download where you can find this. I'll have a link to this page. It's in the 26 free, you'll have to scroll down, 26 free HDRIs. You can see Elevator right here. So you'll download it, and then you'll go wherever you installed Marmoset. You'll go to the directory Data, Sky, and then Elevator will be right here. So the Marmoset may actually open and say there's an error, it can't find the sky, or maybe it'll default to something else. But if it says an error, close it, close the program, copy this in, reopen, and then there you go. You've got the same sky that I'm using for this scene. I'm just gonna open it again. Well, I'm importing, my bad. So that is basically that coverage right there. So the last thing I want to go over is you don't even have to use even the free cam. Maybe you want to show an entire team set of cars. You can do that too. I recommend saving as the Marmoset scene so you can build your own so you don't, if you want to go back to these, but you can just go to a single, or I mean, you can even unlock, these guys and just hit delete, and then you've deleted it. Oh, okay, I really only care about making a make one scene. We're just gonna unlock these, delete. Make sure this is viewing and it's unchecked. Make sure you've clicked the root, hit Control D. You've just duplicated the car. You can use the manipulators to move it over. Hit Control D again, move it over. Control D. Okay, maybe we want to rotate this one. Maybe we want to rotate. And I'm clicking the root folder. If you click just the car, then you're only clicking that part. So you want to keep that in mind. So it's good to click, and you can rename these too on the left, but uh, I'm just doing for a random thing here. So then you'll click here, you'll load your texture. I've got all my crap here, so I'm just gonna need to find a make zero. But then you'll see it changes all of them because it's all loading the same thing. So you can go to duplicate, click the next one, and let's see, I'm trying to remember which one's which. And then click here, and then it's not loading because they're all still going off of this, so you'll need to click on that, hit apply, and there you go. One thing to keep in mind though is when you do this, it will require a little manual work. You're going to need to click on the tires. You can hit Control, left click to click more than one object, hit apply. There you go, the tires from that template or that texture. You need to also go into the roll bar, believe it. Oh yeah, I believe. Oh yeah, that's part of it. Duh. The other parts. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. If there's any other pieces, but all this is the same. I'm actually just gonna hide this guy temporarily. You hit Control F. Say you're like, oh, I got lost. Hit Control F. Then you can find your way back. Okay, yeah, I think that's all you need to worry about. All of these they all share the same interior crap. So you need to just change the outside tire textures, and the you click the body, and that's all merged with the roll bars and the chassis. So that is how you can update and make individual cars if you want to build your own uh, team render scene, and then you can build a new camera. You don't have to use the ones I'm doing, but you can go up to here to camera and build it, or you can duplicate by hitting Control D another camera and set up all that crap. You may as well also have to play with the lighting, because as you see, things move off, the shadows don't look that great. So you'll have to keep all those things in consideration, but and I may actually release in the future extra support for multiple render scenes. It'll only be for Marmoset, so if you use Marmoset like I do, you'll get this bonus stuff. Um, and if you know how to use 3ds Max, you can build your own too. But Marmoset will probably include like a team render scene for all the makes and some other stuff post-launch. But that is an overview of basically Marmoset Toolbag for the ICR mod. Hopefully it made sense. I tried to go as fast as I could over all the key features and maybe some issues you may run into or things you may want to change or how to do stuff. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.